It finally kind of started bothering me, and I was like thinking about it a lot. And the other night, Sarah and I were talking, and I was like, you know what? I think it's the Smurfs theme song. And I, sure enough, pulled it up, and the intro starts with this like weird ethereal start, and then it's like dun, 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 dun. That's what I've been humming for years. And yeah. I was never a big Smurfs fan as a kid. I think it was kind of big before my time. And so that wasn't a cartoon that I was keyed in on. It wasn't like X-Men or Spider-Man that were kind of right in the wheelhouse of my childhood, or like Bobby's World, but Smurfs. I've been humming it for years.
Is that better or worse than beep bop a doo, beep bop a dee, beep bop a dig it, beep bop a dee, which is not The Price is Right soundtrack song? It's The Price is Right song sung by Dane Cook. And yeah.
That's worse. That's definitely worse. I don't think there's anything wrong with humming it's just kind of odd that is like implanted in my brain as my go-to hum song. I'll be cooking or just walking through the house and like, yeah, just start a little hum. I apologize ahead of time because I am an allergy sufferer, and the pollen count in Portland, Oregon currently is through the fucking roof. And so you're going to get some sniffles, you're going to get some coughs, but you're going to get some hockey here on the Handsome Hockey Podcast today. This is episode 80. I am Jake, sitting here with...
I'm Evan.
We're not talking about the whale today, folks.
No, not currently. Off season, not a whole lot happening. But there's a lot happening in professional boys hockey.
The boys of soon-to-be summer are edging towards the Stanley Cup.
The boys of Portland fake summer.
Yeah.
God, we got okey-doked.
Yeah, we got rickrolled.
Yeah, it was like 80 over the weekend, 70 beautiful yesterday, and today just socked in rain.
Yeah, today reminded me of why I hate life.
And it's not even snowing on the fucking mountain.
Yeah.
It'd be all better if I could go ski, but no, it's raining here and raining on the mountain. Sad.
Take that.
Do you think there's any connection between your listening to The National and your hatred of life?
No, because they are sad dads, and I am not a dad. So, for those who don't know, my favorite band in the whole entire world is The National, and it's probably not even close. I'd say like the Deftones and Hot Water Music are probably 2 and 3, and The National has been my number one listened to band on Spotify. I think 13 of the last 15 years.
Not to be confused with Mr. International, or sorry, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dale. The National is actually a good band to listen to when you have been recently fired. And since we have now hit the postseason of the NHL, a number of folks have been fired or have parted ways amicably. People who didn't part ways amicably, basically everybody in the Penguins front office.
Yeah. They basically went in there and just blew up a bomb. Their front office is exploded.
You missed the playoffs with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang in the twilight of their careers. And guess what? You fired.
Which is crazy because like we're in a new world now. Like this is the first time that both Sid and Ovi have missed the playoffs since 2006, the year I graduated high school. That's crazy.
I was mostly drinking in 2006. I was at Michigan, so yeah, I was mostly drinking.
I was at least like drinking a little bit in high school, so I don't know.
I wasn't even going to classes half the time.
True Big Ten student. God.
How I have even I'm the worst Michigan graduate of all time.
Why? In that you don't work for a hedge fund?
No, they're just embarrassed. They're like, what? Did we really let this guy in? We could have let him go to Michigan State. That would have been funny because he doesn't like that school. But fuck, yeah, no, we let him in, and now he's an alumnus for the rest of his fucking life.
You know who's an alumnus of the Calgary Flames?
A lot of people.
Yeah, both their GM and coach, Brad Treliving, was made Brad Tredead, and they sent Daryl Sutter back to the farm.
Would it be Tredying?
Yeah, Trekilled was the other joke I wanted to make.
For going with like tense, though.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking some...
You're taking some grammatical liberties here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not the English major. You know, I can do what I want.
No,
you just be happy. I should don't put brackets around everything. That's the architecture thing.
There's a like very very fine print on my my diploma that says can make up words whenever the fuck he wants. And I know it's there. I don't know where my diploma is, but I know it's in the fine print on the bottom.
U of O promised me things on my diploma that just like didn't happen because everything there is fake. But speaking of everything is fake, the Blue Jackets fired a coach that no one's ever heard of, Brad Larson, Chad Smith.
It was the drummer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I was just like, what's a more fucking standard white male name?
Hi, my name's Brad. What do you do, Brad? I talk about cars, whiskey, and brisket.
And I coach hockey.
On the weekends. Somewhere.
Yeah, that seems like maybe an interesting spot for somebody to go. This opening that the Blue Jackets have made way for.
How much you want to bet they don't hire a coach until they figure out where they are in the draft lottery?
I think that's the smart move. Like, I think you want to.
Well, it's Monday.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Also, you would have to really be on your horse to hire a coach before then. And I think that's maybe caught them in the ass a little bit with this like Daryl Sutter and Brad Treliving thing too. Like they went and hired Sutter in like a hurry. It was like overnight. They brought him off the farm. They like flagged down his tractor and were like, "Hey, you come coach."
Yeah, they like
fine.
They waved a Bible at him, and he was like, "I'm there. I got to give the good word to these young lads.
I got to be a jackass to the children's.
Yeah,
get off my lawn." Goal scoring.
Nothing like mud stomping through the twilight career of Jonathan Huberdeau to get the old blood pumping.
Speaking of twilight of careers, Peter Laviolette will no longer be part of the twilight of Alexander Ovechkin's career because he was Laviolette go by the Capitals.
We've got so many puns today.
I got him.
Oh,
yeah.
You put some work into this.
Went to the pun store and I got a whole pack.
Yeah, I went to the pun store and I am broke now.
Yeah, they're fucking expensive, man. Have you seen inflation on puns?
Yeah, it's like worse than inflation on cereal. Have you tried to buy a box of cereal lately?
No,
it's
I don't
fucking
do that.
Nuts.
We're good Portlanders and only buy granola and muesli.
That's not surprising. I buy Cracklin Oat Bran because it's fucking delicious, and it's like $104 a box now.
Dallas Eakins also canned. Do we care about this? No.
I mean, I think this was bound to happen. They got a new GM.
Yeah,
with Pat Verbeek in Anaheim, and they sucked.
They were bad. I mean, they wanted to be bad, I think.
They weren't as bad as they should have been.
No, but when you finish at the bottom of the league, literally the bottom of the league, generally somebody's got to fall on their sword if it's not their like first year coaching. And yeah, poor Dallas Eakins. Dismissed like he was on Dallas the show.
Vaya con Dios.
Well, bye.
We're obviously going to see more of this. The fact that we've only seen a couple of coaches fired so far is kind of surprising.
Yeah, suddenly, like everyone's talking about Gerard Gallant getting fired from his team that got bounced from the first round of the playoffs against what turned out to be a pretty good New Jersey Devils team. And he's like, bitch, please, in pressers. Like,
he's going as close to his full Boudreaux as he can.
Right. Like,
we're going to bounce away from the NHL just for a minute because pretty much the rest of today is the NHL.
And the rest of our lives for the next several months.
We're going to go to the O. The O stands for offensive behavior. We're going to the O for the news of the day, perhaps the Niagara IceDogs, who were far and away the worst team in the OHL this year, have had two players banned from the OHL. And their GM has been suspended for 2 years after an investigation revealed that the players participated in serious violations of the player maltreatment policy and violated the OHL code of conduct.
So they just took some ice dogs out back and put them down.
Yeah, they went Mike Vick on them ice dogs.
Wow.
What this basically is...
Sorry, that was a
second.
delayed one, and wow.
No, what they're saying here in couch language is they have been hazing teammates.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's especially a bummer when it's Landon Cato, your team captain, and your starting goaltender, Josh Rosenzweig.
That's a name.
Yeah, I had to spell check that one several times.
I think that makes sense. Landon Cato, soon to be of the Cato Institute.
Or hanging out with Cato Kalin. In the back of OJ's Hummer. Or no, it was a Bronco. Fuck. Well, that joke fell apart real quick. Anyways, good on you, OHL, for laying the lumber down on these folks.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that especially kind of in the Ontario area, they're really trying to start like caressing out of the game.
Yeah, because they ignored it for so long.
Yes.
I mean, like, name a pair of things that are more iconic than Canadians and ignoring suffering.
President's trophies and not winning the Stanley Cup.
Ooh, too soon.
Yeah, too soon. Sorry, Boston friends. Niagara was also fined $100K. And remember, I said that they were the worst team by far in the OHL last year. They lost their first round pick in the next OHL draft. So
ouch.
That's actually kind of a huge kick in the nuts, which is well earned and well deserved for allowing this sort of mistreatment of your players by the team captain. And the GM has also been, who's also the owner and the governor of the team, has been suspended for 2 years for basically allowing this to happen, or it happening under his watch.
Governor, like, of the province?
Yes. He is Ontario Governor. I actually know his name, but it's in the deep recesses of my brain right now, and I just can't get
Just leave it there.
Yeah.
It sounds like you don't really want to know it.
It's a really good step in the right direction for the OHL to take this seriously.
Yes.
And hockey in general. And I mean, the OHL in a lot of ways is kind of one of the like main spokes on the wheel of hockey, especially in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you get a league that has as much cachet as the OHL starting to take this thing seriously, the hazing, the mistreatment of players, then you've actually really got a good thing going, right?
Right. They haven't gone so far as to ban fighting like the QMJHL has, but yeah, some of these junior leagues are starting to get a little bit smarter about how they treat their players because, well, a lot of these teams were shit shows and abuse factories for a really long time. And so, you know, obviously the allegations are bad and we don't know, you know, specifics. I don't think we have victim accounts, but that it's being taken seriously, as you said, that's the novel thing here.
Yeah, it's a huge step in the right direction. Also a huge step in the right direction, and this is a huge pivot, and I apologize, but everything has been set right in the world. USA women are number one once again.
USA.
It's been like 3 weeks or so since we last recorded, and in that time, Hilary Knight has almost single-handedly defeated Canada
She really dominated that medal game.
I work with a Canadian guy, and I told him that Hilary Knight is stronger than his entire country, and he is deeply offended by this. This is what we're referring to as the U.S. and Canada once more faced off in the gold medal game of the Women's World Cup of Hockey.
Best on best that Connor McDavid and the rest of the NHL can only wish for.
And in the final, Hilary Knight had she had a fucking game. Let's just say she had a hat trick. Hats were aplenty on the ice. It was funny because the U.S. had this great momentum going, and then all these hats came down on the ice, and Abby Rock was skating around herself, picking up all the hats because she was like, no, we got to keep this thing going. And so she's picking up hats and throwing them into the benches and like then lining up for the face-off. Meanwhile, Hilary Knight scores a hat trick and just skates back to center ice and is like, okay, I'm ready for the face-off now.
Ken has more.
Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing, I wrote a quick kind of like emotional response to it. You can get that at handsomehockey.com. Yeah.
And you should call more attention to that. This is our first long form written piece. Jake is getting back to his English major roots and putting some words out there, and I really enjoyed it.
I've got one more in the hopper, and by the hopper I mean my brain. So
I just happened to call my brain the hopper.
Yeah,
it hops around way more than I wish.
It's like the Dish Network TV streaming device. If you're into reading things about hockey, I did write a piece about Hilary Knight at handsomehockey.com. I think we posted it on our social medias and whatnot.
Did we? I think so.
I don't know. But it's actually kind of a lot of fun. Somebody told me that I was a hockey blogger the other day, and I was like, oh, did they read the piece? That's fun. Okay.
Now you're a blogger.
Yeah, that's true.
Podcaster, blogger, CEO, CFO.
And hockey butt extraordinaire. Somebody made fun of me for having a hockey butt at work today, and I was like, you can't. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
Also, you have like one of the smallest butts on the team.
No, I have a great butt.
Actually, that's not true. We need to do this ranking.
There needs to be like a standard there, because there's like people who are out of shape, people who are kind of in shape, and then people who are in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't want to know where I fall on that one.
I don't want to know where I am either. Anyways, getting back to the Women's World Cup, it was a super exciting game. The Canadians jumped out to a 1-0 lead, a 2-1 lead, and then I believe a 3-2 lead.
Before
and then
the reckoning.
Like, Hilary Knight was just like, you know what? I own the world. Like, this is my world, and I want all of the cups.
All of your goals belong to us.
She... just an absolutely fucking dominant performance from her,
scoring them every way possible.
Yeah, I was absolutely blown away by just, and I've been watching Hilary Knight for years, so like this is nothing new, but just like the humble way in which she scores goals is just like, yes, I am the best player out here. Have a good night.
Yeah, she just kind of turned it on and called game.
Yeah. Also, I think I have a new favorite player in the women's pool for the U.S., Haley Skimura.
Oh.
She's a terror.
Yeah.
She's everywhere.
She'll Skimura you alive.
She is a ball of lightning and a stick. Like, she's super fast. She's everywhere. She back checks and forechecks like a mother. She mightn't be a mother. I don't know.
It's weird when you're like a motherfucker. Wait,
I was like, wow, this has a double meaning here. No, Haley, like I was blown away. Like, I was able to watch only a couple of I was out of town for a big chunk of this tournament, but was able to watch the final. And yeah, Haley Skimura is definitely my favorite player in this pool now. She is a tyrant, and I absolutely love that game, that style of play. When I'm in my best shape, that's how I want to play. I don't always play, but like this, just like hard checking, hard pressing, always in your face, and like capable of magic sort of player. I'm not in shape right now, so like we gotta that's a late in the season sort of Jake. But absolutely loved watching the women play. And if you don't watch the women's World Cup or the Women's World Championship, I've been calling it World Cup, and I'm like apparently in soccer brain. But if you don't watch the Women's World Championship, you're really doing a disservice to your love of hockey. It's one of the most breathtaking spectacles in the sport, and without even like batting an eye, I will say that the USA-Canada women's rivalry is by far the best rivalry in all of hockey.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that comes close to it.
These teams hate each other.
Boston and Toronto, and you go fuck yourself. Like USA-Canada always play for championships. When was the last time Boston and Toronto played for a championship? Like 1961? No, like they always play for championships. There's always huge things at stake, and players from each team are married to each other. Like
that's what I love.
It's fucking nuts.
It's like a tale of two cities. Like it's like some French Revolution style shit. Like we both hate you and we love you.
It's the best of times and the best of times.
So someone that really needs to let the women play is Eddie Olczyk. He decided that he was going to mansplain a goal call after Leah Hextall had the gall on nationally televised Kraken broadcast to say, hey, what do you say? It's the rookie when Matt Beniers scores, in an obvious nod to, as an obvious quotation of John Forsland, the Seattle broadcaster. So Eddie Olczyk decided to explain the joke. Oh, you should give John credit or something. And it's like any Seattle fan probably could have understood exactly what and who she was quoting. Yet he felt it necessary to like correct his partner on air. And it was just this really awkward, ugly moment that I both am disappointed in Eddie Olczyk for and kind of unsurprised that he's produced.
If Leah Hextall were a pony, he would have had more respect for her, but he would also have been placing bets on her. So, I didn't think of it as mansplaining so much as it was just like this like horrible on-air critique of Leah Hextall, and it's like,
I mean, I think that it's exactly mansplaining.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Horrible on-air critique of your women counterpart.
Yeah,
like that.
It was just like so unnecessary and cumbersome, and you wanted to like just kind of cut his mic and like maybe whack him with a stick. I don't know.
And I bet he regretted it the second it fucking came out. But still, Eddie Olczyk has been a shell of himself ever since he wasn't calling winning Blackhawks games. And I was sort of excited to see him with the Kraken, and he's been garbage. So like, whether or not you're a fan of Leah Hextall as an announcer or not, and there are valid criticisms of her just kind of personal presence and her skill, but this is not one of them. That was a great goal call. And like was exciting. Like if you listen to it in this issue, it's like, okay, that you did a good job, and that Eddie Olczyk needed to bring her down with his fucking whiny, like, oh, your kids should learn how to play hockey according to my words style, like, was just lame.
Yeah, and it's one thing to be critical of Leah Hextall as an announcer, whatever. Like,
sure.
Like, we can be critical of announcers all we want.
Absolutely.
It's the because she's a woman aspect of it, that is not acceptable.
Absolutely.
And, Leah Hextall's not my favorite broadcaster.
No.
I don't think she's great. I think she's fine, but I don't think she's great. I think she's done a really excellent job during the intermission interviews during the playoffs this year for ESPN.
Yeah, that is a strength for her.
She's been excellent with she asked, I believe it was her, asked Alex Pietrangelo what he thought about the penalty that he took at the end of the period,
and he got spicy,
and he was like, and I was like, good question.
Yeah, I think she is a pretty good interviewer. To contrast like Linda Cohn's style, which kind of reminds me of NPR. Like she's going to ask like a deep personal question at any moment,
and it's like best friendy.
Yeah, like okay, Linda Cohn. E60 is where you belong.
Well,
like,
also,
you need a documentary kind of around you. Like,
and I will say this about Linda Cohn though, she is a huge hockey fan.
Oh, I like Linda Cohn.
Her and John Buccigross are like the two people who suffered the most at ESPN without any hockey coverage. Barry Melrose doesn't have thoughts, so like let's not worry about him.
I find it hilarious that Barry Melrose is like nowhere to be seen now that ESPN is like finally covering hockey.
It's great.
Like we don't have to trot
sucks.
this. We don't have to trot this fucking animatronic guy out anymore and
He's
be
terrible.
like, hi, I tried to ruin Steven Stamkos.
I pretend to know things about hockey, but turns out I'm a dumbass.
Yeah, actually, your coaching pedigree shows you do not know things about hockey. But yeah, Barry Melrose, whatever.
Sticking with ESPN though.
Yeah, PK Subban, who has been a shot in the arm for the ESPN broadcast.
Yes. So I'm a little torn by this.
Oh, absolutely. I think this was a flub more than a actually bigoted remark.
Right. Well, here's actually where I'm torn.
Mm-hmm.
So PK Subban, after watching the game 1 of the Leafs-Panthers series, which the Leafs lost, and as we watched before we started recording, they just lost game 2 as well, said that in order to compete with the Panthers, the Leafs needed to eat a Lizzo-sized lunch. And so on one side of the equation is that fat-phobic, fat-shaming. Absolutely. There's definitely that element to it. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of that equation, like Lizzo has been playing off that her entire career. Like she went to the Met Gala over the weekend and like I forget the name of the designer who was the honoree of the night. And he was like this big misogynistic, like fucking douchebag.
Karl Lagerfeld.
Yeah. And so she wore like a dress that he would have loved and got a photo of herself eating French fries in the hotel kitchen. And like, so she's like, and she looks nothing like the women that Karl Lagerfeld would have wanted to photograph.
He was like the thinspo guy.
Yeah. He said women shouldn't have curves, which wholeheartedly disagree.
I mean, yeah. And also because he was like personally just feeding them cocaine by the boatload.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a boatload of cocaine, you might as well share it with friends. But at the same time, like, anyways, so like getting back to PK Subban, like, I feel like part of that is kind of like in Lizzo's wheelhouse, so to speak. Like,
right. He probably has thought of Lizzo as a snack.
So like, I don't know if this comment was as bad as like the Twitter outburst made it out to be.
It came off worse, I think. It definitely came off worse than I think he intended.
I would like to hear Lizzo's take on it.
She's probably like, nah, I'm just gonna play with another crystal flute.
She's probably like, I don't give a fuck about this.
Yeah, right. I'm too busy filming The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and so I think that I don't know where I fall on the spectrum of like upset versus like not upset.
Right.
On this.
Or, and like,
it's a faux pas. It could have been delivered better.
Yeah. And like Lizzo-sized lunch just like came off the tongue so easily.
Yeah,
and it's like, this is not the first time you've used that joke. And to be fair, you know, a lunch the size of any human, regardless of their size, is a large lunch. So like, but yeah, it definitely had a lot of kind of fat phobia woven into it.
Yeah. There's some negative connotations that didn't need to exist.
Right.
I think there's a way to make a Lizzo joke in there that isn't fat phobic. Maybe
I don't know.
Because
also, why are you talking about like the size of lunch corresponding to the performance of a hockey team?
That is also very much in the back of my brain. Like what does the size of somebody's lunch have to do with like? So
PK
you have to
Subban,
like shit during the first intermission? Like
PK Subban thinks that everyone should eat La Bamba in the middle of the day before.
Yeah, like, you need a
burrito the size of your head.
It's a comment that didn't need to happen at all, and it's a real bummer because PK Subban is the only thing that's even remotely interesting about ESPN's hockey broadcasts.
Yeah, he has been an absolute shot in the arm for that crew that they needed it. It was just like you would watch this really exciting game and then go to sleep watching Chris Chelios and Mark Messier.
They're fucking terrible.
And Messier is the problem. Or sorry, not Chelios is the problem. Messier is all right when it's him with Subban. Chelios is just a dickhead.
He's not good or entertaining, and he has nothing to add.
Messier is at least adding things and kind of trying. Like he's kind of square, but like
Oh, Mark Messier has like every hockey stick he's ever played with shoved up his ass. Like it's painful to watch a human be that uncomfortable on air.
Which is funny because he's a yoga master.
Yeah. But like Steve Levy's trying his damnedest to like bring something out of Chris Chelios, and Chris Chelios is just like, well, when I was playing hockey, we were tough. Cool.
Yeah, and Messier like has kind of the same level, but at least he can get a little bit more out of it. But
he sucks too.
What I thought was funny, it was like PK and Steve and Messier did almost like an entire game where Chris Chelios just like disappeared. Like he, I don't know, must have been taking like a giant shit or something because they're like, we don't know where Chris is.
Yeah. Good.
And that was honestly one of the more entertaining things about their broadcast was like, where's Chris?
Yeah, it's so bad. And the thing that we all hated was when he came back.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. PK is generally doing a good job, apart from kind of stepping in it. But hopefully
him and Ryan Callahan are actually fairly solid. Callahan's not bad.
Oh, I believe Ryan Callahan is good. I mean, he's he's a workhorse grinder. You know, I believe it.
Yeah.
PK might like slew foot him off set, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. You know who never slew foots? Anze Kopitar.
The man is a machine.
And also probably about to win the Lady Byng. He is the first ever player to play 20 minutes a game in all 82 games while taking 4 or less penalty minutes. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, especially to be the defensive engine of your team, forward speaking. Like, he could probably win the Lady Byng and also maybe be a finalist for
the
Selke. Like,
yeah, ain't nobody taking that from Bergie this year, but yeah.
Right. But Anze Kopitar is absolutely going to win Lady Byng. They gave 2 other nice guys a shout out. Jack Hughes, 99 points, 6 penalty minutes. The way he plays his game, it's not surprising. Like, that's why I kind of look at Anze Kopitar. It's like, Anze Kopitar is not unphysical. You know, he's a two-way center. Jack Hughes he's a scorer. The same with Braden Point. I mean, he flopped his way onto the list with 95 points and 7 penalty minutes. And also probably like a bunch of uncalled embellishments, but you know, whatever. The thing that pisses me off is Matty Beniers got snubbed. Matty Beniers, he's one of 16 players
ever.
ever. Third in the last 32 years with 56 or more points and only 2 penalty minutes. 2 penalty minutes. Like,
he's such a nice boy.
He is such a nice boy.
You can tell he played hockey at Michigan. He's such a nice boy.
So for those of you wondering, Anze Kopitar's 4 penalty minutes this year were both trips. 1 in 2 very disparately calendar removed games. And then
I have more penalty minutes than him in this season of ball hockey or roller hockey.
Or any hockey. And Matty Benier's 1 penalty was interference. So obviously the way that NHL awards voters go, Matty Beniers is going to win Lady Byng next year. But probably because he's shooing for the Calder.
No, he'll get like 16 penalty minutes next year, and they'll be like, oh no, can we still give it to him for last year?
He's really, really going off the cliff. That shades of like everyone wondering if they were going to give Adam Fantilli the Hobie Baker because he like committed a couple of penalties.
Oh, he got in a fight.
Yeah, okay, who cares? It's fucking hockey.
Yeah, guess what? He won the Hobie Baker.
Hockey player fought, yeah.
Oh, if he goes back to Michigan next year, it's going to be so steamy.
That'll be crazy.
Oh, man. It's the fucking Stanley Cup Playoffs.
Yeah, it's the best time of the year.
The best time of the year.
When, like, you basically get to watch hockey every night that you want to.
Yeah, and like, it happens at the same time as the NBA playoffs.
What?
And every year I think, who gives a fuck about the NBA?
Right. Like, I'll maybe pay attention like once it gets deep into the NBA playoffs and it's more interesting.
Basketball is so fucking boring.
Yeah, except for when like Draymond Green's like kicking nuts and stuff.
Draymond Green has been a piece of shit his entire life.
Yeah, but he's also such a good interview, so I love that duality.
Yeah.
Talk about the whole boy. He's really great off the court and a fucking terrorist on it.
Yeah, he should probably like somebody's gonna just drop him someday, and it's gonna be
who?
Great.
Who? Like that's the question. Who?
Charles Oakley.
Yeah, fucking. He's just gonna come out of the stands someday. And
like Charles Oakley or Bill Lambier just like want this, like being like, oh, just sign me for one day.
Bill Lambier's like getting interviewed for a documentary, and then just like gets out of his chair, and then like it like WWE cuts to like him running down.
Hit the Draymond Green with the chair.
Yeah, I appreciate.
And like Draymond Green would go down and Lambier would lean over him and be like, Larry Bird wouldn't have gone down. Anyways, it's the fucking NHL playoffs. Fuck Draymond Green and the NBA and basketball in general. It's really boring and shoes squeaking is annoying. Anyways, so we're in the second round of the playoffs, but we haven't recorded since the first round started, so we're just going to kind of recap some shit real
We've basically been too busy watching hockey to like dedicate enough time to record this, and also our schedules have been kind of as fucked up as the start of the Edmonton and Vegas series.
We're going to dive in with the Isles Canes. I don't think anybody thought the Islanders were going to win this series. I think a lot of people thought that Sorokin could steal a couple games, though.
Yeah, and he really kind of didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe he stole one or some moments here and there, but the Canes were just that much better than the Isles, and
Absolutely.
he just didn't have that opportunity. Like, maybe in the future he will be. But the problem is, the Isles are old.
They suck.
And the Canes are injured, but still much better and faster.
There's no fun in the New York Islanders.
That's not true. Barzal's fun, but like his
fun is corrupted by the shitty scheme that they play and like the boring ass shutdown hockey that they play. Sure. I like Anders Lee a lot, but I wish he was not playing for the New York Islanders.
Yeah, shit wins games. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I like the Islanders as a team and as like a cultural operation, but
as a man with a beard, I disagree.
no, I like that they're the underdogs and they're living
They're
on
not the
island.
underdogs. They have 4 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, back before we were born.
They're not the Wild, or
No.
the Sharks.
That's true, but they are also
Suck it,
always
Sharks.
in the shadow of the Rangers.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
New
what
York City.
happens when you're a New York City team and you make your color scheme orange and blue.
Oh, and then they also, had that failed move to Brooklyn and then decided that they were going to embrace Nassau again. And I don't know. I enjoyed that. But
I enjoyed that they failed and moved back to Nassau. That was great. I'm sorry, if you want to call yourself the Islanders, be on the island.
exactly. And I mean, the Rangers being the lone New York team that's in the city and not in New Jersey. But I digress. Something I enjoyed was that this was Requiem for Aho. Sebastian Aho and Sebastian Aho, each for the Islanders and Canes, squared off in more ways than one. They hit the shit out of each other. In game 1, it was awesome.
Is this when you're driving a Subaru and you crash into another Subaru? It's
Yes.
Subaru on Subaru
So
crime.
just driving in Oregon.
It's Aho on Aho crime.
Yeah, and the game 1 was christened with a Sebastian Aho Carolina goal, and then we had our huge hit. And Carolina let the Isles have one game, but they didn't really turn back in this series. An awesome moment was Marty Necas got flipped into the Isles bench, and he was briefly sort of accepted as a guest there, kind of between as he got up, he stood up. They didn't hit him when he was on the ground. He stood up. He's kind of in between the end of the bench and the backup goalie, and then they're look at each other oh, we have to punch each other or something now. And so I was
So Carolina ends up winning this series. They are up 1-0 on the Devils in the second round. Ooh, spoiler alert.
It was 4-1?
5-1.
5-1?
Yeah.
No, I mean, sorry, the series.
Oh.
They won in 5 games or 6 games?
6.
It was decisive.
6. Zach Parise, who might be the oldest of the old men on the Isles, has said that he is unsure about his future, but if he comes back, it'll be for the Islanders. And the rest of the league is thank Christ.
Isn't he? I mean, he's getting paid the league minimum. You can't say he's
bloated. Ugh. What is he? He doesn't bring anything. Anyways, Zach Parise's been dead for 4 years. Joe Pavelski died.
Yeah, he got murdered.
Matt Dumba in what is there's been a lot of debate and we're well past it now, but I think it's a clean hit except for the fact that it was late.
Yeah, sure.
Because
I think
that's the action that actually hurt Joe Pavelski was his own stick coming up and hitting him in the face. And
it was his head on the ice.
Well, and then his head hitting the ice. And so if the hit hadn't been late, he would have probably been able to protect himself better from it.
I don't know if it was
necessary.
I think late's the wrong term because he was a defenseman approaching an offenseman from the opposite direction. They're not, there's no sooner hit there. It was unexpected. I think that's what you're going for. Pavelski had very little reason to think he was going to get hit shoulder to shoulder incredibly hard at that point. Well, it's just not generally a place you get hit as a forward.
Well, I think it's late because he had already released the puck.
Oh, okay, I see. It was late relative to puck possession.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think it was in finishing the check kind of. But it
walks that border between, and I saw a couple of articles, I didn't read them, but that said, if this hit is legal, maybe we need to redefine what is a legal hit in the NHL.
And I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. A hit that puts that concusses a man is probably a bad hit.
Yeah, and I think it meets the definition of a rough. Like, it was a hit. It was a legal hit that was more violent than it needed to be.
Yeah, give him 2 minutes.
And they gave him a 5, which means you can review it. Then they reviewed it, and I think waved off that penalty. Gave it was like, oh, we know they need something, and so they gave a 2 to like the scrum afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very much like a game management 2 minutes because they felt like something needed to be penalized.
And it did and that's the thing is, like, if something needed to penalize the actual action.
Agreed.
But, like, you know, NHL refs and the player safety, like, they're not, or the Department of Player Safety, they're all over the place. So
yeah, all of these are themes that will recur in this episode, and probably as we continue to move forward through the playoffs, is spin the fucking wheel of penalties and justice, because officiating is all over the place, and then the Department of Player Unsafety is very random with how they are using their jump to conclusions, Matt.
Yeah, we'll get to Michael Bunting later.
They certainly bunted him, that's for sure.
Needless to say, Dallas ends up winning this series rather convincingly, I think. Minnesota just didn't have the, if we're going to make a Dallas joke, horses to compete in this. And
they weren't corn. They didn't have the juice.
And, you know, it's a bummer anytime the rightful owner of the North Stars, of the Stars, loses to the Stars.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing, was new Minnesota versus old Minnesota. You could just see the ghost of Mike Modano from Mighty Ducks.
Yeah. Thought he became a farmer. I do still love the idea that, like, Mike Modano growing up in Michigan knew about Gordon Bombay, but before the internet.
That would make for a great, like, I don't know, side universe or something, some fan fiction.
Yeah, I'll write it. They're pen pals, and they send each other their score sheets. Anyways,
they had like a you know, sort of not quite gay, but like cuddly moment at
some tournament.
Yeah, some tournament. They like ended up on top of each other, and they were like, oh,
there's like heavy breathing, and you know, you're wearing cups, so you can't do something about erections.
Yeah, they're just like visors pressed together, and they're like, should we kiss?
And like the visors cloud. Anyways, the Edmonton Oilers and the Kings played in the first round, and I think we got what we expected.
Yeah, the Kings did a pretty decent showing of it. Yeah. But I forget which of the people on The Athletic said it. Like, the Edmonton is functionally a roller hockey team.
100%.
They're going to score more goals.
They're all offense.
Yeah. All offense, no defense, all gas, no brakes.
I wish they were our roller hockey team. Fuck.
The Kings did a pretty damn good job, I think. And everyone got the moment that they yelled about whether the dress was blue or gold when there was a puck in the corner that may or may not have been touched near the apex of its trajectory by a stick. I thought it was pretty conclusively touched, but Toronto disagreed with me and said, yeah, that it's inconclusive. Player goes on to score a goal. You know, it just the shit that happens in the playoffs, whatever. Will Ferrell had some awesome face paint at the Kings game.
Yeah, good for him. You know,
he looked like a chessboard, and it's nice to see the celeb fans come out.
It's no Jack Nicholson at a Lakers game, but
he's no John Hamm coming out to support a player from his old from his old team. Like that was kind of funny.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a bit, but needless to say, Edmonton did end up beating the Kings in 6, I believe. And it was a good series. It was exciting. The Kings had, I think, a really good showing, and they have a lot to build off of.
Yeah.
They did most of that without Kevin Fiala.
Be interesting to see like how they would have done if that was involving Jonathan Quick, because Eunice Corpusalo was okay. And
I wanted a Vegas Kings series so bad.
I know the Jonathan Quick revenge tour.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's just probably never going to play. But
anyways, yeah, Edmonton moves on. Rangers, Devils, really a great series, a classic series, 7 games.
The home team never won.
Yeah, which is outlandish. No, that's not true. The Devils won Game 7.
I know, that was hyperbole.
No.
But
God, I'm off my game today. Fucking allergies.
Yeah, the Rangers got a big road win to start off. They made the Devils look like they just like weren't ready for class. And then the Devils like got back at them at MSG and started to look like the faster, better team. I mean, this is going to be the way the Devils win is their speed, and they just wear you the fuck out. And, you know, they may not beat you game 1, game 2. They're not super physical. They don't beat you down. They just make you chase. And then next thing you know, they're spending 75% of the game in your offensive zone. Notable late in the series, again, we had a huge, controversial, devastating hit in which Jacob Trouba murdered Timo Meier, and then he murdered Pumbaa after that. But yeah, this one is a little bit cleaner in that Timo Meier puts his head down and puts himself headfirst into a position where he should expect to face an open ice hit, and he faced one. Boy, did he face one. Because Trouba, in the process of throwing a decently low enough check, just gets all of his fucking head.
Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely, if the NHL wants to survive as a game, you know, we're moving towards, and appreciably so, like we're moving towards a lower threshold for contact in contact sports.
Yeah, and one that favors player longevity and you know, not being crippled in old age.
Yeah, like being able to walk when you're 60, probably a good thing, right?
Yeah, isn't that right, Dick Butkus?
Yeah. And so, you know, if that is a clean hit, I could see the NHL kind of coming around on this. Probably not this year, but maybe in the next couple of years, and be like, you know,
head contact of any kind.
Yeah, you're done. Like, take a seat for a couple games.
Or even, it was even penalized in the play?
I don't remember, actually.
I don't think he was. I could be mistaken, but you know, even fucking penalties. Yeah. Penalties and suspensions, that will make any activity you don't want in the game go out of the game. I mean, you look at any hockey highlight from the 90s and someone is hooking all the fucking day.
Every
people just
play.
Going water skiing on forwards in the offensive zone. And that's no longer in the game. So we shouldn't act like there aren't things we can get rid of because we don't like them. No. This was maybe even more borderline than that, in that it was like the player put himself in this position. And you don't want to reward reckless playing, because then, I mean, do you want that kind of level of hit in hockey at that spot? I think the location on the ice is important in this one, because it's at a spot where a forward with its head down is going to get blown up. But there's some bodies in the way, and Meier just doesn't see Trouba coming, and he's got his head down. You know, he's relying on his peripheral vision, but there are too many obstructions, and so he just doesn't see him. And like half of me was just like, well, this is just, what do you call it? Professional risk. I don't know.
If it were a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, it'd be called Maximum Risk. Yeah. Anyways, so the Devils end up winning that series. They're playing the Canes now in the second round.
Yeah, they dominated that game 7.
It was,
ooh boy, 4-0.
It was bad.
It was just like, wow, okay, that's a bummer for the Rangers.
Yeah. And, you know, Gerard Gallant will spend the summer like casually dismissing calls for his head.
Yeah. I mean, when James Dolan is your boss, you really do never fucking know, right?
Winnipeg and the Golden Knights.
The Peggers.
This series started off by being the most interesting series and then quickly devolved into Vegas just kind of owning it.
Yeah. It was a classic, like, first round maybe series that turned into a bloodbath. Speaking of bloodbath, Mark Barron, notable in that he got his face cut in half by a goalie skate in just a complete freak play. Like, there's a scrum in front of the net, goalie's diving back one way for the puck, and his face gets like driven into the goalie's skate. It's like, guess how many fucking stitches this guy had, and it's going to be more.
Yeah, 75 to be exact. And return to the game.
Yeah, medical miracle. I want to know exactly like what products they used, you know, like to seal him up. Was that just all emergency stitches? Probably some liquid stitches. Right. He's like, he's sewed together like Frankenstein to get back up on the bench. Like, this is playoff
certainly
hockey.
Looked like it.
Yeah. Has only jokes after the game. That was the other thing. When asked for comment, he said, you know, what were you thinking after you got hit? And he said, mostly I was just trying to figure out if the puck was in the net or not. What a more hockey player answer can you have than that?
You know, as we stated, this series got boring real quick.
Yeah,
I only watched part of game 2 and was like, oh, Vegas figured this out. Okay.
I think that's partially because the rock star Morrissey, the defenseman for the Peggers, was out.
Yeah.
He had a lower body injury that didn't look like much, and then he skated to the dressing room and never returned to the series. Like, that sucks when your best defenseman just leaves.
Yeah, having the best year of his career, too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Winnipeg definitely knows something about their best defenseman just up and leaving.
Or getting traded to New York.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, Neil Pionk, their other just war-hardened defenseman. I mean, talk about an underrated defenseman, Pionk.
Yeah, for sure.
Pionk. He may or may not still be skating around the world. He started skating and he just didn't stop.
He's the Forrest Gump of skaters.
I just started skating. That was more Bill Clinton than
it was.
But, whatever.
You're gonna play saxophone after that.
Yeah, Neil Pionk played saxophone for 41 minutes and 8 seconds in game 3.
That's stupid.
Holy fuck. That's just an insane amount of NHL ice time. Like
he lived in an ice bath for the next 2 days.
Yeah, that is more than 2/3 of a standard game. That game went to overtime, so I think it's inflated, but whatever. It's just, that's stupid. Yeah. Also notable in this series, Rick Bonass threw his team under the bus after a Game 5 series-ending loss publicly, saying, well, this is going to be short and sweet, so let's get at it, and then saying he was disgusted and saying they had no pushback, which wasn't wrong. Like, his team kind of farted out one.
Well, at the same time, it's the 1 seed versus the 8 seed. Like,
right, yeah, and that was the other thing.
That's supposed to go unless you're the Bruins or the Panthers. Like, foreshadowing.
But the thing is,
Winnipeg sucked down the stretch.
Well, they
squeaked
sucked
into the playoffs.
They sucked down the stretch, but looked like they had some potential at times.
Well, they had a great start to the year, but they just fell apart.
But they also have a bunch of star power, a bunch of aged, underperforming star power, and so you can see how this team and fan base may have been deluding themselves.
Oh, apparently their coach was.
Well, I think maybe their coach is the sanest guy in the room. I think that's my kind of take. Is like, actually, he knows what's up, and it's fucking like Blake Wheeler and that whole thing that, like, even Paul Stastny talks shit about his old team. There's just like, kind of also threw the leadership under the bus, and you've seen, like, PLD wants out. He's just kind of a hired gun.
Well, he's just always wanted to play for Montreal.
Right. He's like at this point, he's like the Wagner group of the fucking NHL.
So needless to say, the Knights won that series. They are now up 1-0 on the Edmonton Oilers.
That first, we'll get to this later. Fuck it.
The Leafs won a series.
The Leafs won a series.
They're probably not going to win their second one.
Doesn't look that way.
It doesn't look great, but they won a series.
We get to put this joke to bed.
Which now that they're getting slaughtered in the second round, I'm kind of upset about.
Yeah, but now they've handed off the embarrassment of their long mired existence in playoff purgatory.
Yeah, and it wasn't a particularly interesting series. It was just kind of Tampa came out and won the first game, and everybody was like, oh, same old Leafs. And then the Leafs won the next 3 games, and it was like, oh, okay.
Right. They kind of turned on the Jets, and Tampa couldn't skate with them this year because they're getting older. And
they've played so much more hockey than everybody else.
They've played a full 25% more hockey than any of these playoff teams.
Yeah, they needed the rest. They shouldn't have allowed Tampa, and they're like, no, just rest your bodies, go home.
It also didn't help that Michael Bunting maybe inadvertently took out Eric Chernak, one of their better defensive defensemen, with a bad head hit, but one I think that was inadvertent.
Yeah, and the Wheel of Doom gave him 3 games.
All of the doom. Yeah. There's, if you're going to give that 3 games, you better be giving other people games. But it more just looked like Bunting went to throw a hit, missed, got Chernak's head, and Bunting doesn't have a history.
He's got a history of being kind of a douchebag.
So he doesn't. That's the thing. He doesn't have a history besides taking Social Security and working the refs. But he
actually has more history than most NHL players because he's really fucking old.
Yeah, but no history of dirty hits. And I mean, this was just a bad miss. I think. I thought it was a 1-gamer. What was kind of crazy is that then he came back and was instantly healthy scratched because I think they realized maybe he's a bit of a liability.
Yeah, and in the playoffs, you don't want to take those kinds of chances, so you...
Yeah, but also Leafs fans literally booed the refs during game 1. They specifically chanted refs, you suck, before anything had happened.
Well, I mean, then they got what they deserved.
Yeah, it feels like this was more than this hit, I guess is what I'm getting at. 1 game, I think that was absolutely deserved. 3 games could have been the whole series as far as the Department of Player Unsafety could guess. I don't know.
Well, but at any rate,
they've cost him a shit ton of money by scratching him afterwards too.
Good. At any rate, that series was pretty boring. The Leafs won.
I kind of enjoyed that it won on like this just random ass John Tavares overtime goal.
Yeah.
Just him getting like the greasy goal to seal it.
The next to last series, the Kraken and the Avs. I really don't need to talk about this series all that much, except for Val Nichushkin.
Oh wait, there's a lot to talk about.
No.
Like,
I honestly, I don't even like give a shit about the rest of the things that happened in this series. I appreciate Val Nichushkin.
I appreciate bringing that to the front. Let's go there first.
So it was game 3, game 2, yeah. Before game 3, the Avs are in Seattle, and the team decides that they need to go looking for Val Nichushkin because he's nowhere to be found. They go into his hotel room, and there's a Russian woman
named Irina,
who strikes part of the Avs medical staff with a closed fist punch.
They didn't find her in the room. They found her in the lobby.
And Val's nowhere to be found. And
I think he was in the room.
Yeah. And so she gets arrested or at least escorted out of the building because she struck the Avs medical staff.
Who later decided
not to press charges. Which is nice of them.
But yeah, Val Nichushkin is ferried away by team staff and
never to be seen again.
Yeah, he's just they rendered his ass back to Colorado. So like, you come home now, son.
So they effectively, so they paid him handsomely this offseason.
Huge monies.
And what the fuck?
Like, I mean, he delivered when he played.
There's a huge what the fuck going on.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge what the fuck. Partially because of just the lack of information.
Yeah, we only know this because of the police report that was filed when Irina struck the Avs medical staff.
And also she said some things that suggested that maybe she was involved in some sort of trafficking. She said she was Ukrainian but of Russian descent and that someone else had her passport. That's about all we got out of her besides being real drunk.
What?
That's the other thing.
Fuck?
I think that's the other thing. She was irate and drunk
at like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So this, I think, might just leapfrog Robin Lehner's Snakes as the wildest thing to come out of the NHL this season.
Yeah, in that there's so much more to it that we don't know yet. My kind of supposition is like this woman was some sort of sex worker, and she was headed to his room to help him relax before his game, and she ended up being I don't know, not up for the task, too inebriated. Like maybe he did something to piss her off. Who the fuck knows? Next thing you know, she's
throwing haymakers
in the lobby of a hotel.
And so Val Nichushkin never played again for the Avs in that series.
Yeah, I mean, she shut him down like she was Philip Deneau.
And like she legitimately, or you could feel his loss in that Avs team because
they had no more star players.
He's a great player, and you know they're already missing Gabe Landeskog. So like,
and they missed Cale Makar for a game.
They never replaced Nazem Kadri.
Arturi Lekkonen's like, do I got to do this myself?
And No, like it was the Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon show. Like even Makar had a bad series, but
and McKinnon had a couple good games, but
the only reason that series went 7 was because of Mikko and Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, like Lehkonen was like the lone depth star, I guess. Depth star? Sure, whatever.
So like when at the end of game 7, when the Avs pull their goalie and decide to go for it, JT Compher's the guy that's coming on the ice. And don't get me wrong, JT Compher's a very solid hockey player.
But he's predominantly a defensive forward.
And he's also not the dude that you throw out there when you're looking for extra juice at the end of a game. You know who might be? Val Nichushkin.
Yeah.
So, am I saying Val Nichushkin's sundry actions cost the Avs a series? No, they played pretty poorly. Seattle played well. Did it impact it? Absolutely. And now the Kraken are in round 2.
Yeah. If I'm going to go Tucker Carlson, RIP, and just suppose wild things, one would suppose that maybe someone employing Irina might have been a Kraken fan and decided we were going to send our best defensive forward that day.
That's some deep state shit right there.
Yeah, that's what Tucker Carlson would say.
The last series,
not saying it happened, not saying it didn't happen either.
The last series that we have to talk about here is the obvious one. The Bruins and the Panthers. The Impact Kitties.
Oh, baby. The low impact Kitties, if Keith Tkachuk is to be believed.
Like, I don't have a lot to say about this that hasn't already been said. It's just like, and granted, the Panthers have looked really good in the 2 games versus the Leafs so far, but I'm not so sure that the Panthers beat the Bruins rather than the Bruins beat the Bruins.
Oh, absolutely. It looked
like they were playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
After getting up 3-1, yes, absolutely. They decided, okay, they went into rest mode almost, and they just started to play poorly. Missing passes that this team makes regularly, just not looking like the same team the second that they get the advantage. I mean, they looked like the classical Leafs that won 12 straight games with a chance to knock an opponent out of the playoffs.
Lost 12 straight games.
Did I say that?
You said 1.
Oh, sorry. Lost. They look like the classical Leafs meme that lost 12 straight games with the chance to knock an opponent out of the playoffs.
The only player on that team who looked like he had that fire was Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, he made Boston love him real fucking fast.
Tyler Bertuzzi just got paid.
And most importantly, he got his stick.
Yeah.
He stole a stick, brought it to the bench with him and just broke it.
No, he tried to break it, couldn't. And when he couldn't, he set it down and the ref came by, picked it up and gave it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was completely ridiculous. Like, Bertuzzi's on the bench trying to like smash this stick on the ground, can't do it, and just goes, eh, and sets it down.
Yeah, that was maybe like one of the high points in the series when you like thought you were recording cute moments for the documentary. You had one kind of failed breakaway with a couple of seconds left that Brad Marchand missed by an inch. That feels like now the pivot of the whole operation.
Especially because Boston played terribly in overtime.
Yeah, and played terribly, particularly from the goaltender position. which was another recurring theme in this meltdown of the Bruins series. And, as we do the postmortem, that's one of the big things that I'm pushing towards, is the fact that you had Linus Ullmark, who was amazing for a certain amount of time, but was injured and looked injured, comes out after the series is over, is injured. Like, you have Jeremy Swayman right there, the Swayman himself, waiting in the wings for precisely this moment. And you don't give him the goal crease until game 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's some bad coaching by Jim Montgomery here.
It was bad coaching from the probably coach of the year.
Yeah.
Like that's
regular season coach of the year for sure.
Yeah.
Postseason,
can they take the Jack Adams for that? Because I would.
So yeah, like that's the recap, right? Like the Bruins played not to lose and lost. And also when you do that in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you will lose.
And Matt Tkachuk went fucking max swag. He chewed that team up like they were a mouth guard.
Yeah. And spit them out like while they were a mouth guard.
Exactly. He had an overtime winner and just so much, assisted on the eventual series clinching overtime winner. The Bruins thought they had game 7. They took a third period lead off an awesome Pasternak play. And then one Brandon Montour snipe later, and you have the entire Boston crowd just silent.
Yeah. Boston Garden lost its voice. And even in overtime, it was not loud.
Right. It was like
and that's not like me poo-pooing Boston fans. It's just like,
no. It's like
they all cumulatively realized what was about to happen.
Right. And I know that feeling as a Bears fan in my heart, and it's not fun. I don't know, if we have much of a requiem for sort of the unthinkable when the greatest regular season hockey team of all time falls in a relatively hard-fought game 7. It's hard to compare it to the Tampa Blue Jackets series of not many years past, where Tampa gets swept in the first round of the playoffs, because that was a lot of luck and kind of smacked of like Tampa's exhaustion and lack of physicality. This Bruins thing was more of like, as you said earlier, is the Bruins beating the Bruins. They fumbled the bag. I want them to take another crack at it, a la the Tampa example.
I'll just say this. Patrice Bergeron's end game, where he hugged every single player coming off the ice, and then him and Brad Marchand cried together on the ice.
Yeah, it didn't look like it.
I think he's done. I think Patrice Bergeron's done. He knows he's done. Rumor has it he was playing with a herniated disc.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing.
Done.
Like, did they maybe do themselves a disservice by playing
yes and no,
him in his full role? I don't know.
I think he still played pretty well. I don't think that's the key. I think
he didn't look like he was hurting them because it was just like everything stopped working all at once. It's like all of your like little passes that you make every day, they just weren't fucking working. Their zone exits were awful all of a sudden. Their zone entries were awful all of a sudden. Where
they just didn't have it. Like, it sometimes it just boils down to that. They just didn't have it. And it's crazy.
I mean, that's playoff hockey, right? It just sometimes goes sideways and you never know. And you never know if this one more goal that could have been scored by the Bruins at any given time in 3 games. One more goal. That's crazy.
So the Kitties moved on, and as Evan so boldly put it in the in our script for today, the Kitties were sleeping during the regular season, but now they're up and they want to play, and they are up 2-0 on the Leafs here in the second round.
Right.
We watched the end of game 2 before we started recording. The Leafs look bad, and Bobrovsky looks like Bobrovsky from like 4 years ago.
It's crazy. Like, it's like he came back from vacation.
It's like he really, like, there was a cardboard cutout playing goalie for the Panthers for the last 2 years, and then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, guys, I'm back. Wow, what did I miss? They're like, 2 fucking years, Bob. And he's like, oh, I play goalie now, yeah?
Is that why Spencer Knight is like in mental health care? Is because he's like, no, that's a cardboard cutout.
No, that's Sergei Bobrovsky. He's like, no. They've been gaslighting Spencer Knight, not to make light of mental health issues in any way, shape, or form. But that's pretty funny. Yeah, so the Leafs are down 2-0, which good, I guess.
They've been close-ish games.
I don't want the Leafs to win the cup.
No, but
because I don't want to deal with Leafs fans.
All of a sudden, the soft Kittens look like the 120-point President's winning Cup trophy team from last year, and it's like the Bruins just like passed them the President's Cup torch.
They were just like, you take care of the Leafs this year. We normally do. It's your turn.
Yeah, make sure to beat them up while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But Sasha Barkov is back. There was sort of like an APB out for him because he had like 1 point in the last series, and they put his Aphex Twin looking mugshot on every signpost. But he got a goal today.
Good for him.
Yeah.
The Kraken and Dallas are at the end of period 2 right now in game 2, and the Dallas is up 3-1. Game 1 was the Joe Pavelski almost hero show. 4 goals. He's probably the oldest dude to ever do that in a playoff game.
Yeah, Joe Pavelski, longtime sufferer on San Jose, got knocked out and apparently came back better. We will rebuild him. We have the technology.
He's RoboCop.
RoboCop that tips pucks like he's a robot, because he scored 2 of his 4 goals on tips.
Insane. Like Sidney Crosby, like making Sidney Crosby go, oh, that was good.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure some of it is
master.
Some of it is some luck, but a lot of it is skill and knowing where you are on the ice and just fucking getting your stick on the puck in weird places.
Get your stick on the puck and it might go in.
Yeah, and another one of his goals was, he just beat the defender back to the puck, back to the goal, and got a rebound. Like, the dude still got it. Whereas his contemporaries on the Sharks almost Cup teams are long since retired.
They're retired the Sharks suck. Oliver Bjorkstrand is blowing up these playoffs, which is good to see, honestly.
All of a sudden he looks unstoppable.
He of the probably hating John Tortorella thread. He's one of many.
One of the many offensive players shut down by John Tortorella's defensive system.
Yeah. So he's having a coming out party, a glow up party out there in Seattle. Jersey and Carolina. Carolina just beat the shit out of them, honestly, in that first game. But much like the Rangers series, it'll be interesting to see how Carolina handles New Jersey's speed over an extended series.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina of having their own speed too. They're just missing a lot of their star players. Like,
Teravainen, Svechnikov.
Right, they're fast as fuck star players. Teravainen, whose nickname is Turbo.
Yeah, and Svechnikov's not extremely fast, but he's extremely skilled, and he lays the wood, which is important in a playoff series. And so,
I think of him as a speed
Yeah.
factor too.
Yeah. So Carolina's up 1-0 in that series. Game 2 will be tomorrow. Edmonton, Vegas. Draisaitl watched Joe Pavelski score 4 goals and was like, I do that.
I'll take one of those, please.
I do that and drive Volkswagen.
I'll have what he's having.
He scored 4 goals, also in a losing effort. And so, honestly, Vegas out Edmonton in that game. They're like, oh, you like to score goals? We're going to score 6. And like Ivan Barbashev was everywhere.
Talk about a trade deadline.
What a great pickup that's proven to be. It's just honestly, it's one game, so we'll see where it goes. But Vegas looked really good. So, I mean, that's what I got. Vegas looked really good. We'll see how Edmonton steps up.
So, do you have any specific takeaways from the first round and change of this year's playoffs?
I mean, we're out. The last 2 Stanley Cup champions and the President's Trophy winning team are all out.
So, Underdog's Day.
It's an Underdog's Day, but I mean, at the same time, maybe we're seeing some sort of passing of the guard. Like New Jersey moved on over an aging Rangers team. The Kraken moved on. Oh, well, I mean, like the Avs aren't old by any stretch of the imagination, but like
no.
But the Kraken are a new team, quote unquote, and so that's a big step.
I think it's more like transposing sine waves than like changing of the guard. I think
that sounds like math.
Like Tampa will be back. They were just tired. Yeah. And like the Avs will be back. They were just injured.
Or locked in a hotel room in Colorado and not allowed to come out.
Yes.
And they took his cell phone. They're like, no calling anybody else. You did this to yourself, Val.
So yeah, the other thing is, what even are goalies?
Honestly, Sorokin's out, Shesterkin's out, Vasilevsky's out, Hellebuck's out. Like, why pay a goalie a bunch of money if you can pay Jake Ottinger like $5 million and just let him go to work?
Ottinger's the cream of the goalie crop left. The other one is Akira Schmidt.
Apparently, yeah.
All of a sudden, unstoppable.
All of a sudden, like
26-year-old that was playing in like the USHL like 2 years ago.
Yeah, he watched his namesake movie and decided, I can do that.
I can just have tentacles stop pucks. Yeah, I don't even know. Goaltending is so weird to have basically only backups and also rans left is wild.
I mean, we once thought Jordan Bennington was good, so I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah, like Philip Grubauer deciding, hey guys, I'm good again.
You know what I want to do? I want to beat the team that cast me off.
Yeah, or Laurent Brossoit deciding, I want to beat the previous 2 teams I've played for as a Giant. Fuck you.
I don't really have any thoughts all that much. I'm unfortunately going to be away for the next week, and so I will probably not watch any hockey, and I am super bummed.
Going to a hockeyless place, a lifeless place.
Yeah. Anyways, we got some quick hits.
Imagine if you did that for the first round, and you were a Bruins fan, and you were like, I'm just gonna.
Hey guys, what happened?
I'm just gonna take the first round off.
I don't have I'll just catch up to you in the second round.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Zion for a week. No big deal.
Yeah, it's spring, so it's not deathly hot there yet. Perfect. Some quick hits here.
Willie O'Ree and Bob Dawson both received honorary doctorate degrees from their respective universities that they both played at. Both were pioneers for hockey players of color. Willie O'Ree with the Bruins, Bob Dawson for St. Mary's University. And it's awesome to see that. Awesome to see these guys get some recognition. Basically, anytime you can get one of them in front of the microphone is good. And so I appreciate both of these universities taking time to do it. Yeah, this was really cool to see.
In sad news, Peter Klima passed away at the age of 58. Peter Klima, probably most known for scoring an overtime Game 1 winner in the 1990 Stanley Cup Finals against the Bruins for the Edmonton Oilers. That was the only non-Wayne Gretzky Cup that the Oilers won. I think the most interesting part about Peter Klima, though, is he was drafted by the Red Wings in 84 and was playing for the Czech national team, which at the time was behind the Iron Curtain. And the Czech national team went to West Germany to play in a tournament, and Peter Klima just basically walked out of the arena and was met by two staff members of the Red Wings, and they got him on a plane and got him to the U.S. He was one of the original kind of defector hockey players who got out of the USSR and had a relatively stellar NHL career. He was a 40 goal scorer, won a Stanley Cup, played for the Red Wings, the Oilers. I'm not sure if he was an inaugural member of the Lightning, but he played very early on in the Lightning's existence. But passes away at 58 years of age back in his native Czechoslovakia. And we just wanted to say a quick note about his passing, and as somebody who was really one of those early defectors out of what was then the communist hockey machine.
Some good news. Andre Texier is going to rejoin the Blue Jackets next season. Took time off from the team to deal with some personal, I think it was family issues. I forget exactly.
I think it was a mental health.
Yeah, I think it was kind of both. Like he went home for kind of mental health reasons. He played in Switzerland this year. Craig Anderson retired. This was several weeks ago now, but I wanted to kind of bring it forward because he's one of the hardiest goaltenders out there, and one of the better of his generation of American goaltenders. And he got to go out with an OT win and like hug his children and wife on the way out in ways that every player just dreams that they can do. You know, if you're going to play a last game, you get to know when it is and you get to dictate it and you get to say goodbye in all the meaningful, sentimental ways. And happy trails to Craig Anderson.
Does he want to play for our roller team?
Yeah. Can we bring him out? You know, we know some Buffalo people. They can maybe have some sway.
Also interesting, Ivan Miroshnichenko has his KHL contract terminated and signed his entry-level deal with the Caps. He was a first-round pick, I believe, 2 years ago. And so he's going to come over and beef up the last resistance of the Ovechkin era.
Yeah, most importantly, the Caps decided, like, oh, we don't have any Russian players on our team anymore because we traded Dmitry Orlov, and I think Kuznetsov is, like, bound to be a free agent this year. So they're like, we need a teddy bear for Alex.
It's always interesting when one of these Russian players is able to get over to the U.S. kind of early without having to like play out their entire career. We watched Kirill Kaprizov have to play out his contract in the KHL.
Yeah, or also talking about like Matvei Michkov, like moving forward into the draft, one of the top
5 guys,
skaters, but you wonder when you actually get him, because right now is about the closest thing we've had in our lifetimes to a USSR since like the beginning of my lifetime.
Yeah. You want to do the next one? I don't know what that's about.
Bo Horvat, of the dearly departed from the playoffs New York Islanders, in the lead up to the playoffs, talked some accidental, not accidental shit to the Islanders fans after a game, saying in response to a question, I think about just the playoff atmosphere, it was like, oh, we haven't had this in Vancouver, meaning the playoffs at all. But every Vancouver fan that had seen, their star player, him, depart, just went sad eyes immediately. And then he walked it back with some softener after the fact. But safe to say, a whole lot of people gone from Vancouver.
Very happy about it.
Rachel Dory was right.
Yeah. The city of Calgary, the province of Alberta, and the Calgary Flames have reached an agreement on a new arena/event center or district in Calgary. They will be replacing the aged Saddle Dome, which is pushing, I think, 38 years, 35 years, somewhere around there. It's right around the same age I am, honestly.
I kind of architecturally really like the Saddle Dome because it's just of a period. Like it's a brutal,
for sure.
It's a brutalist stadium. There are only so many of those, and we're only this one is not long for this world because I think it floods, and it's one of the worst stadiums ever for press.
Yeah, you have to walk across the gangway over the ice on this rickety platform to get to the press booth.
Right, it's fucking triggering just to see a video of it.
Yeah, I saw a video of it earlier this season. I was like, nope, I'm good.
To imagine that press people have to do this, I don't know.
Who are shit usually old white men who have bad hips.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. But yeah, it kind of feels like you're going on an architecture construction visit anytime you go watch the Calgary Flames from the press box. You got to wear a hard hat and high vis. Patrick Laine donated a bunch of money, $52,000 for every point he earned this season. So he probably should have been more at a $75,000 pace. But he took this opportunity to peg a donation to that because it was kind of low.
Yeah, for him anyway.
Sorry, that's a terrible joke. But gave it to the community shelter board in Columbus to fight homelessness. And
that's going to do a lot of great work.
Yeah, I mean, $52,000.
The money goes a long ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Those organizations are so good at spreading money as thinly as possible in order to make the dollar stretch as far as they can. And so that's a huge amount of money no matter how you slice it.
You know who else has to make a dollar really spread? The Coyotes.
Oh, and their fans.
Yeah.
If they want to see them live.
The NHL made a curious and I find kind of awesome decision after finding out more about it, to put a preseason game in Australia.
Yeah, this is a weird one.
You gonna go, mate?
No.
Yeah, because prices to the game approach prices for a fucking round trip fare there from the West Coast. It's stupid expensive. I mean, I didn't quite realize this, but Australia in general is stupid expensive. Living in one of their smaller cities is like living in fucking Manhattan. It's you live in a little box and pay $1 bajillion for it. I didn't realize that.
And all of their people are fucking insane.
That's what happens when you start out life as a prison colony, right? And also what happens when you need to just run from giant spiders and shit all the time. You get jumpy.
And emus.
Yeah. The Kings will play them. What could be interesting is if Gary's balls fall in his favor, this might be our first chance to see Connor Bedard on TV.
We'll have to get up real early for it, or stay up really late. Speaking of hockey, in more hockey normal environs, The Red Wings, Wild, Sens, and Leafs will be headed to Sweden for this year's Global Series. So last year, the league sent the Sharks and the Preds to Europe. This seems like bringing a couple of your bigger guns here.
A little bit. And also teams that have...
Lots of Swedes.
Yeah, lots of Swedes, and also histories of lots of Swedes. So, I mean... They probably have done their demographics research, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna send the Red Wings."
Yeah. They probably were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a parade of all of the Swedish players who ever played for the Red Wings." We don't have 3 days, guys. This is how about we just bring out Nick Lidstrom?
Yeah, their alumni game is just like a public skate.
Their alumni game is actually the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Speaking of Hall of Fame rapper Snoop Dogg has thrown his name into the mix for buying the Ottawa Senators.
That's a good pun, because the mix is of investors is led, or at least partially includes a producer that he knows from LA, and so that's how apparently Snoop got into this. Snoop, longtime hockey fan.
He's been a Kings fan for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, but also made like the Robo Penguins jersey infamous in a music video.
Yep.
He went on this week to have some pointed but perfect criticism of the league. Basically saying, why is Connor McDavid not a household name everywhere?
He's not wrong.
And it's like...
He's 100% right, actually.
Did you just fucking change the whole game?
Yeah.
He may not even win the fucking bid.
Yeah.
You know, it could go to...
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds and company. Like, that's... I don't think they're on the same team, right?
No, I don't believe so.
They're part of bidder packages for the Senators. And... Oh my God, like... I thought I wanted Ryan Reynolds as a team owner. I want Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg, he also did commentary. I think it was NHL 22. He is like a guest commentator on that game.
Is he really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
He comes in. You just got to Selly.
He comes in on the second period, and they like announce him. They're like, and they bring him up in the conversation, and so he can say things. It's amazing.
I really only hope that video game can also put in Kodak Black.
Kodak Black will forever be in the lore of the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, what a good omen, right? And elsewhere in random hockey news, Zdeno Chara participated in the Boston Marathon. He did really well. He finished in just under 4 strides. Okay, but he finished in like 3 hours, 38 minutes.
Yeah, but he's really tall. That's the joke. Come on, guys.
Come on.
That's it for us today. This is going to be a doozy to edit, but
it's going to be a marathon of an episode.
You know what? I think I'm gonna. I think I'll make it.
I think you will too. Thanks to everyone that's been with us for this journey so far. We're proud to announce that we've eclipsed 3,000 listens,
which is bananas.
Yeah, really.
And I don't even like bananas, but this is bananas.
That means that you have downloaded more than 3,000 hours of us blathering about hockey, and I really appreciate that.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'd give you a receipt if we could, but we really enjoy putting this out, and we love that other people are starting to more and more enjoy this with us. We have some interesting things in the works coming at you shortly, so please stay tuned for that, including more long-form articles, maybe some merchandise, and, you know, maybe just some more like random Twitter rants. I don't know.
Evan might get our Handsome Hockey Podcast Twitter blocked again. That'd be fun.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a TikTok this week. I don't know. Maybe we both become pigs that fly. Who knows?
I'd be down with that. Can I still play hockey in that scenario when I'm a pig that flies?
I assume whenever I hear like pigs flying, I go to like the Pink Floyd album cover.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'm like, I'm just a just a pig dirigible. I'm just floating up above everything,
Yeah,
particularly the London Modern Art Museum.
Thank you, everybody, for spending time with us for, 2+ years now. If you are looking to spend more time with us, and not even our significant others want that, but thank you for, anyways. Handsomehockey.com is the website where you can find the aforementioned Hilary Knight long form and others as they come to fruition. We are at Handsome Hockey Podcast on Instagram, at Handsome Hockey on Twitter, handsomehockeypod@gmail.com. If you fancy sending us your bitter rants, if they're anything like the ones I receive at work, I will laugh while reading them. We've got the Handsome Hockey Facebook page and our YouTube page.
That's a reminder to update the YouTube page.
You can do it.
Oh, I can do it.
I believe in you.
I appreciate your belief in myself.
Yeah. And you know what? We appreciate everybody else's belief in us. Even if you don't believe in us, you've somehow listened to us, and that's weird. But
yeah, that'd be weird if you didn't believe in us and you just we're still listening to us now.
I fucking hate these guys. Let's see what they got to say this week.
Yeah, I'm going to make it all the way to the end like it's fucking Ferris Bueller.
Go home.
No, really. Get out of here.
Okay, I'll see you later. Thanks, everybody. Stay handsome, everybody.
Restez battus les mains.